album concept hour. The album concept hour. It's the album concept hour.
Good to go? All right, well, I will roll right into it and hopefully say my words correctly. Welcome, everybody, to the Album Concept Hour. I am Brad LeBaron, your host as always. And today we have a very special episode. We have a guest that has made an indie film, but it's a full-length indie film from the Midwest, which is pretty cool because, a lot of times they're made on the coast. But, before I say who we have Dave here as the co-host. He's the co-host with the mo-host. Say hey, Dave.
Hey.
And today our special guest is Kristin. How do I pronounce your last name? I'm so sorry.
It's Kristin Peterson Kajubowski.
Kajubowski, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are old friends, so I knew her as Kristin Peterson when we went to college and stuff together. So I'm not used to the new adage to the name.
A few more syllables.
Yeah, just a few. But welcome to the podcast. I wanted to have you on for a while here, and I wanted to get you on, especially before your movie came out, which is next week.
It's Monday, August 31st. Yeah.
Monday, August 31st. So whenever this comes out, go check it out. The movie is called Ringo Levio, right? Is that how it's pronounced?
The funny thing is, even the cast and crew says it differently, but we're calling it Ringo Levio.
Ringo Levio. Okay.
Internally.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I understand a bit because I have Revolver Audio and I'm about to change it because of difficulties pronouncing it and stuff. But I mean. Yeah, so what is, let's get into your movie, though, before we get into the album, which is one that you picked. Sufjan Stevens is Illinois, with an E at the end. Not like a little bit like the state, but not quite. That's the album we're going to get into. It's got a bunch of tracks, and it's some really great, folk, fusion. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got a lot of kind of genres kind of melding back and forth. But first I wanted to ask you about the movie and everything since it's coming out next week. Are you really excited or scared, or how are you feeling right now?
I think that I cut out for a second, but I think I know what the question was.
Okay. Yes.
I'm very excited. So we finished the movie last year, and we were hoping to premiere it this spring, but we all know what happened. So we're just lucky that it's screening somewhere, even if it is virtually.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe in 2021 we'll get an in-person screening. But
yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of screenings in 2021.
Yeah, a lot of backups.
There's going to be movies for months straight.
Yeah, I actually just reached out to 7 drive-in theaters, and hopefully one of them bites, because that would be an interesting way to see it in person.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah. I mean, you kind of, in a weird way, you have the benefit of having shot everything before, the quarantine went down. So
yes, there's actually a lot of projects I was on that we have no idea if we're going to finish or even start.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing. Anyone that was halfway through something, it's a real struggle.
Yeah, it's so painful.
Yeah, and what I really like about your filming is that you filmed it in the Midwest. You filmed it actually outside of Madison. Where was that again? That farm
it's
out there?
It's in Dane, Wisconsin, in Dane County. It was a farmhouse that doubles as an Airbnb and a cooperative farming group. It was such a great location.
Yeah, it was a really cool looking spot. I stopped by there once to help out with some of the food, and it was a really, really cool area. I could see why you picked it.
Literally chickens waking us up and
Yeah.
getting in the way of shooting. It was lovely. And there's
Yeah.
big dogs everywhere and barn, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and you shot it pretty fast, right? Like you shot it in what was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah, usually a feature film of our length and our type has like a whole month of shooting, but we did it 14 days straight, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's really awesome. And
it was hard.
you've done a few small short films before this, and you've worked in film festivals. Well, at least Beloit Film Festival, I know. And so you've been kind of like in the I guess Midwest entertainment industry for a little bit, doing your part. But yeah, I was reading. I want to bring up the Capital Times interview though. There was one little
Yeah.
bit where I was reading, and it got me thinking. I was wondering what you were talking about specifically. So you were mentioning that you got inspired partially by a project you were on in Janesville with a friend. Now, is that Brian Slauson's zombie thing that you're
I
referring
actually
to?
don't know what that's referencing.
Oh,
Inspired.
oh, okay. Well, you mentioned in the article, the Cap Times article that you were on, which I'll link in the episode, that you helped out a friend that like went to like Milwaukee. He was from Milwaukee Film or program, and you were in his thing. But were you not talking about the zombie thing?
No, I
Okay,
actually
okay.
wasn't involved in that, but I
You
got
know what
to
I'm talking
UW
about,
Rock
right?
Howdy. Yeah, I was a little
Yeah.
late to the party there.
Okay,
I heard
okay.
it was great, but I wasn't involved in that.
Okay, okay,
I think
okay.
I was referencing a few short films in the film program at UW Milwaukee
Mm-hmm.
that I like. I actually was asked on specifically because I was good with kids. And I don't actually think I'm that great with kids, but I was the only person who wasn't like a nerdy, quiet guy. So that's how
So
I got
by
my start in the
default,
film industry.
you're better with kids.
At least I'm not as like
Uh huh.
quiet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's how I started. I could talk to children.
That's how you got into directing.
That's how I got into assisting films, and then.
Just getting into just films in general. What
But
made
it does relate
Yeah.
because my first short film has two girls in it.
What is that one
and
called?
It's called Dog Walk, and it's
Oh, yeah,
based
yeah,
off
yeah.
of a moment in my life where I probably shouldn't say this. I mean, I have said it in interviews already, but I stole a dog once, and then I just fictionalized it to have like metal music in it, and these girls were a little more nefarious about it when
Man.
I wasn't as nefarious. I was just stupid.
That's a great story. I mean, did
So
they
I
get
guess
back
I'm
to their
good with
the owners
kids.
eventually, or did you
Oh,
just
yeah.
keep it forever?
After an hour, like I didn't
Okay.
actually steal the dog. I
That's
wish.
not,
I
that's
wish I
not too,
stole
that's
the
not
dog.
too bad. At least you didn't keep it forever. You know, the family would have been pretty upset.
No,
But you're
We
just like,
just-
cool dog. I want to keep
we
this.
just took it on a walk.
Yeah, just a walk. We're just
Yeah.
going around the block.
You know, real life is not as interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that. I haven't seen all of your short films, but I like the kind of tone that you bring to your filmmaking. It's very. I don't want to. I want to say something other than Midwestern, but it really, it reminds me of people I know. It's very reminds me of old indie films that I grew up with. You know what I mean? Like the indie films that were like in the maybe late 2000s, before it became like a corporatized indie film.
Right.
Yeah.
Garden
know.
State, basically.
Yes,
Like that
yes,
corporatized.
post Garden
Yeah.
State. Yeah, when indie became just like a genre term rather than like an independent small budget film.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because indie films right now are still $1 million budgets.
Yeah, given the indie, it's the same with music sometimes too, because there's like now that indie sound, and you can capitalize on that indie sound and make a lot of money. So it's
Right.
like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. In a way, it's weird giving like having that indie label there, but
Yeah.
But
Seeking
in your case-
authenticity.
yeah, in your case, you're legitimately indie, as in like you're local, you're because one thing I always rant about to my friends is like all the talented people from the Midwest just ship off to the coasts to like find their to make their way in the entertainment industry, and I think more people should stick it out here. Which was another question I was wondering is like what are your future goals, like regardless of what happens with this first film? Like, are you planning on staying in the Midwest? Do you want to move around a little bit in your entertainment directing journey?
Today, I feel like running away to a house in the woods and never talking to anyone again. I'm still so exhausted.
That's fair.
From how much it took out of me to make this movie. And I'm not, I'm talking for myself. Like, there were also 50 people who worked on the project that in many ways were exhausted by it too. But for myself, like, I just feel spent. But I think maybe that's how many people feel after they do something big for the first time.
Yeah.
Financially too, it was just a lot of strain. Not complaining. We also got a lot of grant money for it, but yeah, currently I just want to like write poetry in the woods with my dog and my husband, and then maybe in a year resurface and have an idea. But I don't know. It's just, it takes so much out of me. And I think I realized through the process that what I really like about making movies is the chance to share my mood or my experiences. And I get that in so many different ways. So the careerist filmmaker, the answer would be like, well, I'm already done with my next script and I'm, looking for funding and stuff, but I need more space. And so I'm considering going back to school. I didn't actually go to school for writing, but I want to go get an MFA in writing.
Okay.
And then, after 2 years, maybe I'll make another movie, or maybe I'll just be a writer for the rest of my life. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, writing is like, I think that personally, I think to be in any of the writers' rooms or whatever in just any number of TV projects would be like just the coolest thing, to just be surrounded by people that like are also just into writing and talking about plot.
Yeah, and dedicated to, like, I hear it's a war zone, even if you're writing for, like, The New Girl, something really fun and light. It's just every day you have to turn in pages on pages, and they have to be
really
good.
Intimidating. Yeah. I don't know if I could do it, but, like, it sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So you're going to be maybe focusing a little more on writing for a little bit here.
That and the guy who produced Ringolevio, who also edited it and helped to write it, Marty, who's also my husband. Mm-hmm. We were going to shoot his movie this year, so that's our next project.
He wrote a movie?
Yeah, he has like 20 scripts he's sitting on, but we landed on a script that is like pretty producible with a low budget, but also still has his like, signature humor. Where like Ringolevio is my humor, which is like sad girl awkward humor, I would say, maybe. Maybe Gilmore Girls humor-ish, where Marty's more of the wacky, classic, like, harebrained comedy, switch 'em ups kind of humor.
I enjoy his podcast. I've listened to a couple episodes, and it's just, he's fun.
He's awesome. So
what's that called again?
Next project,
goofs and novelty songs, right? Yeah,
just it's a podcast about dumb shit.
Yeah. Typical podcast stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. They do really well.
They have a lot of fun, which I listen to podcasts for people having fun with each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And they've been friends since college, so it's been like 12 years of them goofing off anyway, so why not record it?
Nice. They have a nice rapport.
Mm-hmm.
We'll I'm sure we'll talk about your movie as we go on here, but we should probably get into the first track because there are technically 22 tracks, but we are going to get through them. I know there's usually more than we have in one episode, but
didn't mean to choose a challenging one.
Oh no, it's I'm up for the challenge. I was kind of wondering, like, can I do one that's this long? So we're gonna find out. But yeah, let's just talk about the album a little bit for a second. This is Sufjan Stevens, and the album's Illinois, and it's from like a series of how many albums did he do actually in the State series?
So 2, actually. He lied. He said he was going to do all 50, but then he admitted after this one, he's like, I was joking. It was a ploy.
Yeah. I mean, only someone like They Might Be Giants would do something that weird. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of material.
People
especially if it's
him.
all this caliber, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally a symphony in 22 movements.
Yeah. There's like I said earlier, there's a little bit of everything. There's some really folksy guitar. There's some orchestral stuff. There's some why am I blanking on this 80s synth stuff here and there. There's a little bit of the choruses. Choruses are amazing. I'm a sucker for good vocal harmonies and shit. But yeah, the album's about Illinois, if you couldn't guess that from the title.
Or Illinois, if you're from Illinois.
Yes, depending on what region you are from. I have become a Wisconsinite. I used to be an Illinois person because where my family's from. But now I say things like A and
Oofta.
Yeah, just weird pronunciations of stuff here and there. But yeah, we're gonna get into it. This first track is it's not an instrumental. This is called UFO, concerning the UFO sighting near Highland, Illinois. You're gonna like these titles.
Oh, what it was, incarnation, 3 stars, delivering signs and dusting from their eyes.
So yeah, that's the first track that I picked. So they're talking about there's every track pretty much in this album is referring to a specific Illinois location or event or like historical thing. There's also plenty of like personal stuff in it, just about Sufjan Stevens. But yeah, so this first one is about like a story where some people in Highland apparently saw a UFO sighting. So yeah, it's a nice like intro to the album as far as the music stuff goes. It really
Yeah, it sets the tone for, he like literally mentions "oh God" a few times and angels, and it sets that like just overtly spiritual tone, but he's talking about very physical human things or a UFO.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like there's that spiritual stuff, but the song is like about a UFO too. So
and the music too, it's like it sounds like angels or like heavenly objects, the fluttering, and such a great first song.
Yeah. And Lebanon in the that's in the Middle East. That's used sometimes trying to shorthand some spiritual stuff. And 3 stars, like the Trinity and all that. So there's like
the 3 lights on a UFO, I think.
Well, yeah, but I think maybe there's like a double
connection correlation.
Yeah, double meaning there. Because this is a very spiritual album. Like, there's a couple tunes here that almost sound like they could be like hymns or some worship song. And because the Sufjan Stevens actually, I don't know if he was all like fully raised Methodist, but he went to a like Methodist summer camp, so he's got some he's got some history in Christianity. And specifically Methodist stuff.
Throughout the album, too, he mentions like specific lines from the Old Testament, at least. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and praying over his dying friend. Like, there's so many themes of modern Christianity in it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you'd call this. He's definitely not someone that's like an overtly like Christian artist, but like it's. It is still very spiritual though. I would say you want to roll into the second track here, the Black Hawk. Oh no, internet. Okay, internet's back. But yeah, there's a lot of tracks on this one, as I said. So I'm gonna be rolling through them pretty quick, guys.
Let's do it.
So this next one is called all right, The Black Hawk War, or How to Demolish an Entire Civilization and Still Feel Good About Yourself in the Morning, or We Apologize for the Inconvenience, but You're Going to Have to Leave Now, or I Have Fought the Big Knives and Will Continue to Fight Them Until They Are Off Our Lands. So that's the track.
Yeah, so definitely a white person's point of view.
This is the second track. There's some of that like fluttering you were talking about. Like those.
One of my notes is that it reminds me of the Final Fantasy songs that plays before you're about to hit a really big boss. And you're like, the music's supposed to cue, maybe you should buy weapons, maybe you should buy like potions. Right. I didn't have enough time to find the exact song, but I just played Final Fantasy IX, so I know it's in there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like shit's
feels like
a war
down.
Battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's referencing this war, the Black Hawk War that happened in Southern Illinois, right? I think it was Southern.
I think it was all over the Midwest actually, because it got into Wisconsin too.
Oh yeah, that's right. They talk about a couple of places, kind of in Illinois and Wisconsin area, but basically the Black Hawk and his Native Americans came into a land that was supposed, it was like quote unquote white territory or American territory, and they weren't happy with him occupying that space, so a war broke out. Yeah, of course, like always when that happens, we crushed them and took over the land, as happens over and over again. But yeah, this song is trying to kind of musically show that, I guess,
the struggle between two parties. It's like listening to it. It's a pretty short song, but you get the sense of there's strife and triumph at the same time, and you're not really sure if you're supposed to feel good about it. Like the music does a really great job of that.
Yeah, like
so
patriotic
I think we know his
almost.
opinion.
Like, well, I think that sometimes when I hear this kind of thing in a song when touching about like Native Americans or like specifically like American things, sometimes artists will be overly patriotic to like make a point about that. So I don't know if
I
this
don't think
is
he's patriotic at all, though. I think his point of view is like, this sucked that we did that. It was, they won the battle, but the undertone is like clearly.
Yeah. Well, I guess at the end, I feel like I get a little bit of like victory sounds from some of the instruments. So like the kind of colonizers, like kind of perspective coming through.
Like the whatever helps you sleep at night kind of notion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is touched on a few more times in the album. It kind of jumps back to this motif. Because he's going, like I said, he's going all over Illinois history and everything. They touched on pretty much everything I think of that's Illinois. Did they mention corn at all?
I don't know what that is.
Corn?
Oh, corn?
Yes, the
like
kernel
maize.
Thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's in two of the song's lyrics, I think. But you know how we'll get to this, but the lyrics is like so dense.
Yeah. There's a lot of lyrics in here. There's almost like a rock opera about Illinois or something, So yeah, this next one is called. Let me actually pull it up because these titles are long, guys, and I want to make sure that I give them their due. Here we go. So this one's called "Come On, Feel the Illinois." In parentheses, Part 1, The World's Columbian Exposition, and Part 2, Carl Sandburg visits me in a dream. I really like
Love it.
whoever the like lead female vocalist is in this. Like I don't know. Well, let me see if it says it here.
It looks like fourth threaded, but I'm not sure if there's a main one or not.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's two that are listed here: Katrina Kearns and Shara Nova. Shara Nova, that's a badass name. But I really, really like the combination of male and female vocals. Both at the same level, both being given the same amount of attention. It's very like Fleetwood Mac, and I always love when that comes out. Like Damien Rice is one that I mentioned while we were doing the listen through. Like a couple times, it really reminds me of some Damien Rice.
Like you still know who's writing the lyrics, but the equal, mixing of their voices.
Yeah. The production is very. He's not trying to focus on his voice so much that it's like he uses his voice like an instrument, I guess. Rather than like the focus, which some rock groups really struggle with sometimes.
Yeah.
But Dave, are you familiar with Damien Rice? Did you ever hear him back in the day?
I've heard the name. I've heard friends talk about it.
You ever see the movie
recall.
Once? No?
No.
Oh, man. Okay.
No,
Okay. I was about to say, those are like the two touch points I can think of for this kind of like vocal style. But you should definitely check out both of those things, Dave, if you like some good harmonies. But this is like something. This is like this came out in 2005. So I mean, this is when me and Kristin were in high school at that point, right? You were in high school too, right? 2005.
Me?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. So like this was, there was a lot of this kind of like folksy harmonizing, like male female things happening right then, and I really really miss it. I feel like there's like it still does happen, I guess, but I mean there was a really nice pocket in the 2000s of that.
This track too is like excellent as a number 3 track on this album. It has so much of the energy that you get to hear the rest of the album, but it was a nice ramp up with the first 2 songs.
Yeah.
And also, like, when you think of Chicago or in Illinois, one of the first things historically people bring up is like, well, not one, all of the things he lists in his lyrics in this song. It's like Carl Sandburg, the Columbian Expo, the White City, soft drinks.
Could you repeat that last part?
All of these amazing things that, oh, am I dropping out? I think it's back now. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, like all of these.
It's all right.
Like,
we have editing technology.
Touchstones of, so like Frank Lloyd Wright is mentioned, the Ferris wheel, White City, all of these things. Like it's really a good like platter of like, this is what Illinois is. Now let's get into the intricacies with the next tracks.
Yeah. Because like I mean, you might like if you're listening to this first time, you might not know how hardcore he's going to go into this Illinois stuff. And third track, this album is about Illinois. Like it's not just like set in Illinois. It's like it's interesting because like this isn't done too often. This kind of like love letter to like one state, Yeah,
I
really like
especially
that.
Midwestern state.
Yeah. I know when it came out, I was like Illinois. I mean, I have a lot of family in Illinois, but I'm not like a huge fan of Illinois, but
But it deserves everything to be, like he talks about.
Yeah.
It's the third coast. It's the
Yes.
At one point before
Middle
Hollywood popped up, Chicago was considered the second city.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, is that where Second City got its name?
yeah. Before Hollywood, started expanding.
That's really cool. Because Chicago is still the heart of like improv comedy. A lot of like improv comedians that you hear on your favorite podcasts have come from Chicagoland area.
Many famous ones too.
Industry, finance, yeah.
Yeah. Chicago's got everything.
Do you want to get deeper into this song or move on?
Oh wait, do you have a note on this? I was about to say, do you have
every
another note on this song? Well, let me check mine.
Well, I think
the World's
one of
Fair.
the most noteworthy parts of the song. Yeah, the World's Fair, the
Yes.
Columbia Expo.
Yeah.
Have you read The Devil in the White City?
I have not.
It's one of those, speaking of things that popped up in the 2000s, it's one of those, fiction, nonfiction hybrid books. It's incredible. It's about everything that has to do with, the expo, but then that murderer that was, stealing people from the expo and keeping them in his house. And then all these other, factual parts of him murdering people and what was going on. The triumphant parts of the expo and the very,
damn.
serious.
I didn't know about all that.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love that book.
Wow. But yeah,
but
that was a big thing though. That expo. It was I've heard it referenced in so many different things. It was a big. What's the word? It really inspired a lot of young people at the time.
Medical science, yeah.
Yeah, it was just. I don't know. Is that still done? The World's Fair? I don't think.
No, not anymore. But
Isn't
they used
that
to
where
do it every
isn't that
year.
where the Eiffel Tower came from?
I think
And
so. Yeah.
And the Statue of Liberty, I believe, is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
the
a lot of
first
weird
part
stuff
this
connected to the World's
song-
Fair. What were you saying?
Yeah, the first part of this song, he basically just lists things that came from the expo, and one is soft drinks, and I had to look that up. It's soft drinks came from this.
Wow.
That's incredible.
From
Everything else that happened, soft drinks. That's the most important.
from the fair. It came from the fair.
Wheat.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was presented there. Yeah.
Wow, soft drinks came from this. That's crazy.
And he also lists the Ferris wheel, but I have to double check that because I feel like the Ferris wheel, it can't have come from that, but it probably did.
I don't know.
If he's mentioned
I don't know. He seems to have done his research. Who knows? Mm-hmm. He also mentions ancient hieroglyphic or the South Pacific. I don't know why he mentions ancient hieroglyphic here, but
I think it's because a lot of the buildings that were pop-up tents and stuff, it was based around Egyptian
yeah, there was a Cairo street
imagery.
in the fair, which consisted of 26 edifices, including a mosque, house, shops, and Sabil Kutab. That was everything here is at the World's Fair. This guy, I don't know if he just read a book about all this stuff or where he got all of his
I'm
information.
sure it's in
And
books.
if you do an album about the state, you got to know everything. It
Yeah, I mean,
he
for
did his
real.
research.
Yeah.
wasn't haphazardly.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that killer that you mentioned 3 minutes ago, this next song is called John Wayne Gacy Jr. And it's
Not the same killer, but
one of the only songs that I'll have a transition for.
Boys with their cars, summer jobs. Oh my God. Are you one of them?
Yeah, I had to get at least one of their just raw chorus things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was mentioning earlier to Brad that this song is really hard for me to digest because he does an incredible job of it, but he's humanizing one of the most brutal serial killers in Illinois history.
Yeah.
That I've heard of my entire life.
Yeah.
And he literally says, I am really just like him by the end of the song.
Yeah.
Spends so much time in the first stanza talking about how his dad ignored him, but his neighbors loved him because he was charming and also so beautiful. The song is gorgeous.
It is. It is it's one of the
delicate.
It's one of the prettiest songs on the album. I mean, I love all the other songs, but this is very
Yeah.
raw.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like he's really forcing us to grapple with the idea that someone who killed, I think it was 33 young boys and men, specifically boys
33,
and men.
Huh? Yeah.
I think it
That's
was
an
33.
That's an important number.
Yeah, and he buried them in his
Thinking
house.
of.
Yeah. So he's making us have compassion for him, and then he says, I am just like him. And I have my ideas of what maybe he means by that, but it's overtly saying I have secrets too. We're all
He's got a skeleton.
sinners. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally skeletons.
Yeah. In this case,
Literally
literally.
and figuratively.
Yeah.
So I mean, my main comment about this song is like, if you're gonna choose the topic of John Wayne Gacy Jr., like his choice was to humanize him and not make it like a creepy, like scary song. Like he made the choice of making it one of the most delicate songs on his album.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
incredible.
Like
I
if
think
you don't know, if you don't like look at what it's about or anything, you might just not catch it.
you might,
It's almost a topic you don't have to make creepy. I think done in this way, it actually it comes across almost just as eerie without seeming too dark.
Yeah,
Because the topic already is very dark.
And I honestly do have sympathy for this kid who wasn't loved, and it turned extremely dark and violent.
Well, that's the thing about a lot of serial killers is one of the common. I think I've talked about this on a podcast app. Like, oh yeah, I talked about this on the Sun Kill Moon podcast app about Richard Ramirez. So there's another song about a serial killer. But yeah, if you don't get that love in the first, like the formative like years, the first like even the first like 6 months to a year. Like it has massive effects on you throughout the rest of your life. And that's one thing that a lot of serial killers have in common is that they did not get love for the first part of their life. And yeah, it's terrible. It's depressing and sad. And sometimes like that guy isn't going to kill anyone on his own, but he meets someone that's like even more sinister or something and draws him into it. It's just all sorts of.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to go deep into this topic because
I
Jeffrey
know.
Dahmer also has the same like victim base, which is men that he
Same
slept
rap
with. What was that?
Like almost like the same rap sheet, like just in comparison side by side. They're pretty.
Yeah, it was always men that he slept with and then killed in very awful ways.
Yeah.
And like the self-hatred, the inner homophobia that they're taught to be shameful of themselves.
Yeah.
Like it sours. It makes you into a monster.
Yeah, and it's something that, they talk about it a little bit in a different song on this album, because he talks about sexuality in his personal life a little bit in this album, and like that when he talks about his camp experience.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think there is part of this is talking about the way that society, at least at that time, was viewing homosexuality or treating people coming out. There's still people that, if you're from a really heavily conservative family that's not cool with that, then you'll still have a bad experience coming out. But I mean,
Many parts of Illinois.
this is, I think, maybe right. When did gay marriage become legalized?
It was after this.
It was
album,
after
for
this.
Sure.
Okay.
Well after.
Okay. Yeah. Because this is still on the way up to the fight for, gay marriage legalization. So I mean, it was it was on people's minds for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna roll.
Especially in like modern Christian culture, like if you're bi or gay or queer in any way, you either don't talk about it or you leave the faith and then you talk about it.
Yeah. Right. My not to get too off in the weeds, but my dad he's a Methodist pastor, and he's from like one of the most progressive sections of Methodism in the country, and they have some gay pastors in their area. They did have a trans pastor, but I believe that the national whatever walked that back, but. By and large, I know it's awful. But by and large, though, Methodists are pretty progressive on that stuff. But I'm biased as fuck because I'm a pastor's kid from a Methodist dude. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the next track though. This is gonna be Jacksonville, and it is the 5th track.
glass of wine.
Nice, nice.
I love the family band quality of this song, like the tambourine, the stomping, the chorus. I love it.
Yeah. It's a really fun tune. This is definitely one of the funnest one. Like, it seems like everyone that's recording is having fun while they're doing it. Well, and if I'm to believe what you said earlier, it is just Sufjan Stevens. But the people singing though are definitely enjoying themselves.
They're definitely not him.
Yeah. Well, it looks here like the cello and viola and stuff is by different people. So
Okay.
I think there was maybe a band that he was tapping into, but he definitely like arranged this stuff, which is a big task. Yeah, arranging all the different instruments, like that's, you got to know stuff. But yeah, they're talking about Jacksonville, Andrew Jackson in here. Is this the one about the yeah, this is the one about the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without getting too academic about it, what I'm getting from it is that, like, everything he's mentioning, and like you'll see this in every one of these songs, is that he mentions 300 things really densely. So it's kind of hard to like take the message unless you really sit with it. But it's about like people doing illegal things for the good of humanity. So they're not going to be told not to harbor, former slaves in the Underground Railroad. They're going to do what's right. And the mention of Andrew Jackson, the president, what I found online is that he's one of the first presidents that like allowed not society people into the White House.
Yeah,
like it's a true folk song.
Yeah,
it's about the folks.
Like, that's the thing. Andrew Jackson he was although horrible about Native Americans, he was also like a common man kind of guy. So yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, he was also known for like just like doling out alcohol at his parties and cheese, and everyone, it was like bacchanalia. So that's another part of reputation.
Yeah. I'm sure his parties were baller. And I mentioned Helen Keller in this. There's also some notes that say it could be this different person, Annie Keller, but I think it seems more like it's probably Helen Keller they're talking about. 'Cause Annie Keller was like a teacher in the area at the time, but I couldn't see that there was any connection between her and the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more using, Helen Keller to describe an idea, because everyone knows Helen Keller. She's deaf and blind.
Yeah, and mute.
Works for metaphors. Works for certain metaphors.
She loves pinball.
She's a pinball wizard.
What's that called when you're an actor, singer, and dancer? A triple threat. She's a triple threat.
Yeah, yeah. She's a triple threat. Or there's the what is it? Going after an Oscar, an Emmy, and
yeah, an IGOT or
an IGOT. Yes, an IGOT. Yeah. I don't even know how many people know that term, but I love that term, IGOT.
Well, someday you'll get one.
Someday I will get an IGOT. One whole IGOT.
Steady progress.
You're gonna probably get an IGOT before I do.
It's EGOT because Emmy. Yeah.
EGOT, IGOT, whatever.
Oh,
doesn't really matter.
No one listened to me talk.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Oh, and Canada. They mentioned Cannery Row.
But they say canner, so I don't think it is.
Well, I know, but
cannery.
it's like I think it's something that a lot of towns had probably. Like each town had their own Cannery Row, probably.
Man.
But yeah, that's what it represents. There's the book by John Steinbeck called Cannery Row. Read it; it's good. The next track is called. Oh, here we go. It's a quick one. A short reprise for Mary Todd, who went insane, but for very good reasons.
Oh, good.
So this is Mary Todd Lincoln, right?
Let's hope.
Yes. I mean, I don't know any other famous Mary Todds. But yeah, it's just an instrumental track, and they titled it. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Like, when I'm looking at this track in particular, I'm wondering, like, did he just have an instrumental track and he just needed to title it something like Illinois like, or was he like writing this music thinking Mary Todd?
It fits. Like, she's this figure of intense sorrow and loss and grief, and also mania, and that's feels like that. So
yeah, because he was the one that had those dreams, right? She had like the premonition dream of Lincoln dying. Is that Mary Todd?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I remember reading some weird. I wrote a few reports about Lincoln in elementary school because I loved Lincoln a lot. But yeah, I think that she like there's this whole like tale about how she had like a dream that was kind of a premonition of Lincoln's death, and like
she's probably a witch.
Yeah, probably a witch. Yeah. That's that.
In the
maybe,
best way.
Yeah. Maybe there was like a curse situation, and that's why Lincoln had to die. Who knows? Don't want to speak ill of the dead. But yeah.
Oh, no, witches are great. That's speaking well of them.
Well, yeah, depending on who you are, I guess. If you're certain Christian folk that were upset about Harry Potter, you're probably not going to be down with the witches. But I think that's mostly a minority these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most people are down with Harry Potter at this point.
We're ready for the next one.
We are ready for the next one. Decatur, or round of applause for your stepmother.
Sangamon River, it overflowed. It caused a mudslide on the banks of the operator. Civil War skeletons in their graves. They came up clapping in the spirit of the aviator.
Yeah, folk. That was very, very folk.
Yeah, it's the first one that's like truly, it feels like you're in the mountains. It's muggy. Love it.
Yeah. Almost like
the rhymes are all so good with Decatur.
Yeah.
So good.
Well,
aviator.
Denominator, go to Decatur, and he. I like the flow of his, like the rhythm of some of his lyrics. There's like alliteration to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just being from a family from Illinois, it is cool seeing all of these town names, like just referenced casually, because you never see this in a song. You never see specific Illinois towns.
Also, like he mentioned Stephen Douglas and Abe Lincoln because they had those great debates.
Yes.
And like I don't remember hearing the name Stephen Douglas more than like twice in my life, and that was 20 years ago. So it's nice to be reminded.
Oh man, so
my brain did keep that. That's nice.
So my family is specifically from Freeport, right? And that was one of the stops of the 7 Douglas versus Douglas versus Lincoln debates. And there's like a statue of the debate, essentially. So it was something that we visited all the time when I was a kid because it was right next to the ice cream shop. So we would get ice cream and we'd walk around these statues. So it's something that like Freeport, Illinois is like really proud of. Like they mention it as many places as they can. So yeah, I just like that they mention it because
a symbol of open discussion and free thought.
Yeah.
Was awesome.
It was, and the fact that people like immortalized it so much that there's statues means that it was like. It was such a interesting thing for the people at the time too, that's why. I mean, I know there's, Lincoln definitely wasn't perfect with some of his views about certain people, but he is one of my favorite presidents to think about because his journey is just cool to follow,
And also like mythologized to the point where he wasn't half of the things that the books say he was, which I think is very interesting. Like the soft, high voice. Not true.
Yeah. I heard.
Not true at all.
Well, one thing that I read that is he would like read jokes to like the Senate or the the people or his cabinet or whatever to try to like lighten the mood and get people kind of in the spirit together. So he also wasn't this like just ultra serious staunch dude too. So yeah, it's
there's two sides to Lincoln.
Yeah, there's more to Lincoln than you think. Yeah,
he's an Aquarius for what it's worth.
Oh, okay. I don't know too much about Aquariuses. They're ones that go a little under the radar for me.
We have a mutual friend, Mario.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's a good Aquarius.
He's a great Aquarius. We gotta have Mario on here sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
I
also wanted to point out for this song, he mentions the great I am, which is like specifically an Exodus phrase. God said to Moses, I am what I am, or I am the I am.
I am the great I am, I think, or something
and
like that.
That's for the Bible nerds. Like in his lyrics, he doesn't say it's Exodus 3:14, but it's such a ingrained phrase in my head growing up.
Yeah,
like literally reading the Bible every day.
You did it every day?
Those like dog whistles was a term that I heard recently. It's like the Christian dog whistle.
Christian dog whistle. Yeah, I mean, as a pastor's kid, like I definitely notice those a lot when they're in songs, and there is a lot of songs that reference the Bible, like pop hits, rock songs. Like it's not just Christian musicians that talk about like specific verses in the Bible.
Whether they know it or not, too. Like there's at this point, there's a lot of turns of phrase that just seep into regular conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a part of our culture. Yeah.
Like the end all be all. That's from the Bible.
Alpha and Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that.
Christian dog whistles.
Yeah.
Oh, also, this song is about hating his stepmom. And then by the end of it, he says, maybe we should stand up and thank her, like feeling remorse for being a shit kid. So nice.
Yeah, that's kind of a stage in your life when you realize, like, oh, man, that must have been hard, huh?
Yeah.
Raising
and also,
us.
like, specifically Decatur. He hates Decatur because that's where his family moved. So that, like I have a lot of cities, especially in Wisconsin, that I have like bad taste in my mouth. But just because like a family member lived there or I had bad fries in that city or something.
Dude, so fries will really kill it for a town.
Yeah.
I
was going to try to pick a city
your
name,
fries.
but I can't. Fuck Wausau.
Yeah, who has bad fries in Wisconsin? Let's call them out right now.
But like this whole album is about like how our brain really does put things together in the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
And what can like be evoked from that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's very personal, but in a very different way than like the Sun Kill Moon album we listened to. Like the Sun Kill Moon album was like, it was about a specific area that he grew up in, and it very much like sounded and represented that area. Mm-hmm. But this is like that plus like a lot more production and a lot more nuance,
It feels like the generations he's talking about, like the layers of time.
Yeah. Like the Sun Kill Moon one could have been called Ohio, or for all I care, because like it was all about places in Ohio and his hometown and everything. But yeah, it if you haven't listened to it, it's a great one. But we're going to move on to the next track. It is One Last Woohoo for the Pullmans. This should be quick.
2 seconds long.
So short. You guys want to move right on to Chicago? All right, so that first one was literally just 10 seconds. Like, it wasn't... Usually we do 15 seconds of a track, but there wasn't enough for that.
We got the whole track.
We got the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's nice. And then the track after that is Chicago.
Which is the shortest title on the album.
Yeah.
It's also probably the most famous song, would you say? It's like used in that Netflix show, The Politician. It's
Oh,
think
really?
it was in another movie. Yeah, I think it's the most famous song, or the
Okay,
most
okay.
marked song from this
It is a
album.
really it's a solid tune. It's marketable. I mean, I guess
It's
I
so
could see
fun.
it on parts of this on the radio.
Yeah, and like the themes too, like he's talking about freedom and like letting go of guilt and making mistakes. Like there's just, it's great themes that I think are very universal.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I also do want to start talking about this because the rest of the
Oh,
album,
I was
I
about to say
think.
before we get on to that, I just do want to mention briefly what the 10-second one was about. So the Pullman the Pullman woohoo for the Pullman is that they're referring to the Pullman strikes from what was it 1894. So the Pullman porters were African American men who would basically work on the trains and make a really great living. And I think they started paying them less and less, and then there was this big strike. And the Pullman strike is a big event in basically workers' history. So it's a really short track, but I'm glad they touch base with that moment in history. So any worker people out there, Nathan Manny, I'm talking to you. Pullman strike, look it up. I want to get Nate on here too, man. Still haven't had Nate. And then Chicago. Now we can talk about Chicago. What were you saying?
Chicago.
What were you saying about this track, though?
I just want to bring up the topic of everyone wondering if Sufjan Stevens is queer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because this song, it's like he talks about like wanting to go to Chicago. He feels free there. Wanting to go to New York. He feels free there. He can be himself. He made a lot of mistakes in his head, which I think is clearly talking about he was told to be ashamed of something.
Yeah.
And how Chicago is this symbol of like cleansing, letting go, all things grow. I think this is the beginning of him, or maybe the Gacy Jr. song, the beginnings of him talking about how he's queer and he doesn't feel comfortable unless he's in larger cities because it was more acceptable.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that wasn't quite as far along in 2005.
Or as a young child too, because by this point he was an adult.
Yeah.
And he's from Detroit area. And it wasn't as progressive as Chicago for sure.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the things they talk about in some of the notes is that this was basically going off to Illinois was kind of his escape from home. Like it was he would always go from Detroit to Illinois for a vacation or for just relaxation or what have you. So it was it was a place where he could be, like you said, be himself. And I think that if maybe this came out now, it might be a little more overt with that because it's you can. It's a lot more open for queer and transgendered folk to come out and be themselves in public. It's not perfect by any means, but I mean it's better than it was in 2005 for sure. So
and to openly out yourself in the ways of music, it took a lot of bravery, and like Ricky Martin.
This is pre Lady Gaga, right? This is
it wasn't a part of music enough unless you wanted to be the gay musician. That was all you got to talk about.
Tokenized.
And obviously Sufjan Stevens has a shit ton to talk about. He does research. So I can see that he didn't want to be pushed in a corner with one topic.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's smart. It's understandable, especially at this point in history, I guess. Because, that would have just become the headline of every article that came out then, breaking news, Sufjan Stevens gay. And then it would have, absorbed the media. And that's he's definitely someone he has a lot to say, but he's definitely clearly also a private individual, like a lot of musicians, they value their home and not, everyone not knowing about every aspect of their life.
That's a great part of music making too, is that you get to bare your soul, but you also get to hide behind music. Like you don't necessarily have to come out and say, I have this wound, it hurts like this. You get to say stranger lyrics and put sounds around it. So you can be completely intimate without actually revealing anything.
Yeah, because it's still up to interpretation. Ultimately, whether you were making a story to represent that thing, or if it was about an autobiographical type thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, you always at least have that to stand behind. Yeah. But I'm going to move into the next track, though, if you don't have any other thoughts on this one. And just make sure I don't miss any thoughts on mine. Never mind. I don't have anything. Next track is, this is one of your favorites. Casimir Pulaski Day. I think you said this is one of your favorites.
In the morning, when you finally go, and the nurse runs in with her head hung low, and the cardinal hits the window. In the morning.
Yeah, this one is, I think it's a rough song to begin with. It's a song about him losing a friend that he had a intimate relationship with, either if it was just friendship, but he alludes to like wanting to kiss her, so they must have been children or something. But like personally, I've lost a friend in my 20s, and it just really hits, like the line also about we prayed but it didn't work. And just like feeling hard. It's a song about losing your faith after losing someone that young. It's so impactful. He did an incredible job.
No, I mean, that's that's a lot of it's really dead on. Because that's the thing, like as you get into your 20s and 30s or whatever, like you do experience that at some point, you experience
and it never
death.
felt finished. It never feels finished.
Yeah
But he's also like I think this is one of the better examples of him being really explicitly personal, but also leaving things up for interpretation. Like one of the first lines, he says cancer of the bone. You kind of can't misinterpret that. But then I think the next stanza, he mentions that her dad ran into a lake, or he drove into a lake. Like, did that actually happen? Is that a symbol? It also, but we get it. Like this man was driven by extreme grief.
Yeah. Like your father drove into the lake because he was upset about her dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it honestly feels like I could drive myself into a lake if I found out my daughter or whoever was sick,
Oh my God.
That's the feeling. So did they actually do it, or are you just trying to show how it hurt? I think this is one of the best songs ever written.
Well, it reminds me of the song "What Sarah Said."
No.
From the Death Cab for Cutie.
Oh yeah.
And Plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really reminds me of that kind of feeling, that kind of like kind of just the hopelessness of knowing that someone is fading away, It's just a hard thing to try to comprehend.
Yeah. And later in the song too, you could just feel how confused and upset he is.
Yeah.
And he says, I think I saw you breathing, but we found out like she had died.
Yeah.
Which is like such a visceral feeling. Like I see her body and I think she's breathing, but I know she's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And then I think the last line is he's talking about God, because in the liner notes or whatever, it capitalizes the word he, but it's he takes and he takes and he takes.
Yeah.
Just talking about how like God is just, he keeps taking from me and everyone, like, ugh.
And he shook my shoulders and he shook my faith. Or he shook my face. Fuck. Freudian slip. He shook my faith. Well, yeah, that is. You're right. That is the last part. There is very overtly like about Jesus and stuff.
Yeah. Or just like shaking your fist to the sky, like, why did you take this person?
Well, yeah, which is something we can all feel, we all relate to, you know. Mm-hmm. It's that whole Job thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, why did this happen? If everything is all good, why did this happen? And it's kind of one of those things we have to learn to accept at some point in our life, that people die.
There's another element that I'm not quite sure what he means necessarily, but he does mention like wanting to touch her blouse when she was alive, and like there is this sense of longing for her, but I don't know if he even thinks that it's like a sexual desire as much as he's just remembering how he never had enough of his friend. He never fully felt her blouse or touched her face, like. Yeah. And I feel that too. It's like when someone's gone, it's like, I wish when I was at that party with them that I talked to them instead of someone else. Like that feeling.
There's never enough time.
Yeah.
Or you didn't give them enough attention, or you didn't cherish them, I guess.
And enough. It's not, and just when they're gone.
They're there, then one day, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then when they're gone, that's all you can kind of think of, you know?
Ugh, such a powerful
I could have done this. I should have done this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this next track is Valley Region. I have an idea concerning your predicament. So let's see what he's got. Wait. Hold on. Oh. To the workers of the Rock River Valley, I have an idea concerning your predicament, and it involves inner tubes, bath mats, and 21 able-bodied men. That's the full title. Mm-hmm. So this one really reminds me of like a Dick Tracy-esque like
a noir,
noir. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Noir kind of scenario. Like I imagine someone like sitting in a room with like smoke billowing, like talking about all the bad things that have happened to his friends, and
you see like an ashtray filled with like one like still burning, like
right,
of booze, and just hiding behind a desk.
Yeah, and I love that it's about Rockford and Rock Valley, which I grew up in until I was I lived there a few years when I was a kid until I was, I think, 8. I think I moved to Beloit. But yeah, we spent a few years in Rockford when my mom was single.
And a big clock tower?
I remember the clock tower. Yeah. That's the exit you got to take, you know. It's the important one. But yeah, this one I really enjoyed just the instrumental on this track in particular. I just love it. Just made me think and feel a lot of things. So, what are your thoughts?
This is where I came in through the listen through.
Oh, okay.
Came onto this song.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
It was good.
Yeah.
So I will say, since I missed pretty much everything up to that, I've just been relying on the little clips.
Yes.
to catch these tracks.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
I've never actually listened to this album from start to finish.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had some friends that had it. I heard a track here and there, but from the second half I heard, it reminded me of just a handful of bands that had like, it's basically, if you combine all these, you almost would get this album. So I hear a lot of like the chorus, like the multiple voice, like a polyphonic spree, like this very inspirational, like heartiness. I get a lot of what the hell's the other ones? Like everything from like the Shins to Arcade Fire to like a lot of that mid 2000s, like all that sound, but like in with one album.
Yeah, there's a lot of genres. A lot of stuff to it. Yeah, a lot of genres in this one album. Yeah, like it reminds me almost of I don't say this a lot, but it reminds me of kind of like a Beatles kind of album, because like it does have that variety. It's got the orchestral stuff in between. It's got that really big attention to detail to the outros and intros, and you know, it's not like made to be a pop album, which is cool too. You know,
this is one of those albums where it's literally you almost start to finish to enjoy. Like you can't pick one track like on RAM and listen to them like, oh.
Yeah, it's better as a whole than individuals. Yeah,
like a true concept album.
Yes, exactly. That's the best kind of concept album, I think. Mm-hmm. Is because you can't stop. You have to just do the whole thing, you know. But yeah, we're gonna get into one more track, and then we're gonna take a quick break. All right. This one is called "The Man of Metropolis Steals Our Hearts." I really enjoyed that like kind of guitar intro thing, you know. Mm-hmm. I like when that came in.
Yeah, it's like the first rock song on the album.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very much trying to emulate that feeling, you know, like kind of like maybe 50s rock kind of feel a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the notes I took on this song is this is the first time where it dawned on me that Sufjan Stevens like champions the working man throughout the lyrics and even like the music. It's so triumphant and it's folksy. That the whole album is triumphant and folksy, I would say. And the lyrics prove that he thinks that people who are willing to put the work in and are generous with themselves, they deserve love. I was like, oh, I like that. I'm on board with that.
Yeah. No, it's a really nice sentiment. And it's like almost like this one, I think we said was almost like a worship song. Like it feels like almost like a worship song to like the working man type of.
Yeah, without the hokey, like, give your heart to God shit. Like,
yeah. Good point. Yeah.
It's worshiping ourselves. It's Satanism, basically.
We work hard, you know, steel man, you know.
Yeah.
Like steel workers. Like they're talking about like they're also talking about Superman or whatever, but I mean, I think they're also talking about just the working man in general and like just the Americana version of American ideals, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very heartland kind of song. You know?
Which is Illinois. Like Illinois' flavor is we're industrious people who usually like love our families, have Thanksgiving. But on the other side, we're expressive and triumphant.
Yeah. We are the Midwest.
Also, winter helps us reset. So in the summer we go ham.
Yeah, and I think the winter also helps us like get into it with each other sometimes. Because like, well, we got to be with each other all winter. So I guess we're gonna have to get comfortable.
Yeah, you can't choose your battles.
Yes. The Midwesterners know how to choose their battles.
I heard a really good comment. One of the actors in my movie is basically a family drama. Mm-hmm. So on topic. But one of the actors, when he was like signing on, he said, I've never seen a movie about a family in warm climates that like are fighting. And he's like, I wonder if there's something to that. Is that in the winter you're stuck in like a 3-bedroom house with 5 people, and there's always going to be battle.
Yeah,
someone's going to start screaming. He's like, that's a really good idea or like concept, and I think it's true. I think that in warmer climates you get to like run away to the river. Like you don't.
Everyone can just be cool, be happy all the time. But it's like, well, you're stuck inside with someone for 4 months or something, which maybe more people can relate to now, but like it's like you gotta deal with shit.
Or you all just find your corners and
that's true. Or you just you just wait it out.
The snow fort outside.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna move right along to the break. Though we got another 10 tracks to get to, and when we get back, we will be doing what is it? A prairie fire that wanders about. So we'll be right back.
This is Trevor Colden, and you are listening to the Album Concept Hour.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Album Concept Hour. We have our guest from the first half, as in the second half. We have Kristin Peterson. What's the last part of that?
You got this.
I don't think I do.
Kazubowski.
I'll get that one of these days, I promise. Next time you come on, I will have it down. You have the film Ringo Livio, right?
Another word
coming out on. I don't know if we said the festival it's coming out on earlier. What is the festival?
It's called Dances with Films. It's in LA. August 31st is the first screening, and then September 3rd is the second screening. Online.
Yeah. And I'm assuming you can, if you buy a ticket or whatever, you can have access to the other things that's happening in this festival, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I mean, as everyone knows, everything's happening online right now. So if you want to catch the newest and coolest films, you're gonna have to go check out this festival. All right. Check it out. There's a link down. You don't see me. There's a link in the description. The next track that we are going to cover for this album, Sufjan Stevens, Illinois, is Prairie Fire That Wanders About. Hold on, is there a longer title? No. This one's just that. Okay. I have to think that if this came out in the 80s, that it would have been used for Wayne's World at some point in the movie, right?
Maybe Wayne's World 2.
No, Wayne's World 3. They do a Bill and Ted's thing where they're way older. Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, the music for this one. This one's just very kind of whimsical and almost mythical in a way. I can see this being in the background of some Hercules type deal.
Yeah, it's like he's saying cities from Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Lothlorien.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got a fantasy kind of vibe to it. Yeah. What are you gonna say, Dave?
Oh God. Like a Flash Gordon, this epic. A very.
Yeah. They even mentioned the opera house in the song where Emma sang. Who's that? Emma Abbott sang at the Grand Opera House, most famous Peoria singer. All sorts of details if you're a big Illinois fan. But yeah, this is another one of those kind of shorter tunes, right? This one was this one's 2:11, so it's another kind of one of those in between kind of songs. But this one kind of interpolates the track earlier in the album, Black Hawk, the Black Hawk War, and all that. I feel like this is kind of a furthering of that. I was saying patriotic kind of feel earlier, where at the end of that other song, it feels like the conquerors are kind of taking over the mood of the song. And they mentioned Santa Claus for some reason too.
And a great parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, is Peoria has the Santa Claus parade?
Do they have are they known for a Santa Claus parade?
I vaguely remember
this.
Yeah,
no, you're right. That's what this note's saying right here. Man, he really did do his research. You know? Yeah.
Or he talked to every like conventions and visitor bureau of these cities, like, hey, I'm gonna write about you.
Yes.
What can't I miss?
Yes. What needs to be in these 22 tracks?
And then he just sings the list.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This song feels like that. He's just singing the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Middle America, 101 Peoria. Yeah, it's just another, I guess, colonizer tune. It's just like, I think that's maybe part of the reason it's so mundane a little bit, because it's like, this is what has replaced the Native Americans before them, this kind of stuff that they're glorifying in this.
But we get to keep
tune.
We get to keep their city names at least.
Yeah. I always thought that was kind of weird the way we did that. I feel like if you were I feel like if you're a Native American, it would kind of be just a slap in the face. There's just a city full of white people that's named an Indian Native American thing.
Well, most city in Wisconsin is, a French bastardization of Native American tribes or cities or rivers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the downside of the Midwest, I think, is all the stuff going on with the Native American wars and everything in the Manifest Destiny and all that. We're one of the first frontiers before like the West, before it was full on about the West. I like that they mentioned the Cubs here too. You got to mention the Cubs. If you're going to talk about Illinois, you got to talk about the Cubs.
But the Cubbies.
You got to talk about the Cubbies. You got to talk about the Bears. I think I talk about the Bears at some point here. But this next track is called a conjunction of drones, and the full title is A Conjunction of Drones Simulating the Way in Which Sufjan Stevens has an Existential Crisis in the Great Godfrey Maze. Another instrumental track. But it's just 20 seconds. Just 20 seconds of this thing going on.
It's Existential Crisis.
Yeah.
It's a short one.
Yeah, you think this was just like a point in his writing process where he was just like he felt hopeless or something?
I actually think that it's really intentional, these interludes or whatever the best word is. It's like you have a burst of energy with the Prairie Fire Peoria song.
Yeah.
Then we get to breathe, and now we go to another kind of dense, lyrically dense, instrumentally dense song. So I think it's really intentional.
He does that a lot in this album, I think. He has 2 tracks in a row that are either light on lyrics and short and then an instrumental, or just not as big as like some of the other tracks, like the third track and there's I think 3 through 5 are all full normal kind of tunes, and then we got the Mary Todd thing, and then there's a lot of stops along the way in this, which is cool, which kind of adds to the variety that it has.
Or sonically feels like how parts of Illinois are just hours of flat farmland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful cornland. Yeah. I've done my fair share of driving through Illinois, and it's a lot of corn. Anyone know anything about the Great Godfrey Maze, though?
No.
Let's see what Genius says. It doesn't mention anything about the Godfrey Maze, so I guess no one knows. Must be something from Illinois, I'm assuming. Everything else is. What do you think the conjecture of drones means, though? Like, why does he phrase it like that? The conjunction of drones.
I don't know if he's referring to like the war, drones or
Yeah, that's the only part I
siren
don't quite
drone.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the great Godfrey corn maze is a thing.
Of course it is a corn maze.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It would have to be a corn maze. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a very normal thing probably to us, a corn maze.
In the village of Godfrey, Illinois.
Godfrey, Illinois. Okay. People aren't named Godfrey much,
Just Gilbert.
Just Gilbert. And that's his last name. Yeah. We need more Godfreys. All right, so this next track though is a real tear jerker, heart kind of song. It's really good. It's called "The Predatory Wasp of the Palisades is Out to Get Us."
Oh, how I meant to tease him. Oh, how I meant no harm. Touching his back with my hand, I kiss him. I see the wasp on the lane.
So this is one we were kind of referring to a little bit earlier when we were talking about his sexuality and how he kind of he gets these questions a lot about his sexuality because of some of these lyrics, and this song is probably one of the ones that brings that up the most.
Yeah, I think he says we were in love like 30 to 40 times.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely an infatuation with a. Well, he this is the one about the Methodist camp that he went to, and some of the experiences that he had there, and yeah, I mean, it's very intimate. It's it's a great love song. It's
lovely.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And one of the things, as you were saying a little bit, that's one of the kind of background themes of this is the kind of coming out in a way, but like in a spiritual kind of way, and not being that like specific about it, and the predatory, the wasp thing, actually, the predatory wasp is a terminology, I guess, that's used to describe when, basically, like when heterosexual men feel like homosexual men are like into them, and so they feel this like innate predatory feeling because they think that it's basically homophobia in general, but yeah, he's specifically using, I think, that term wasp maybe to refer to that idea that exists. But
yeah,
what were you saying that the wasp could mean as well, though, earlier? I think you were saying
like
it.
the sting of love,
Yeah.
especially like strong infatuation. It feels like being stung. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question that you said it's a Methodist summer camp, but he talks really specifically about like wearing layers in bed. And is it maybe that it was cold at night?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think it's just
It's like
cold.
this whole album feels like an Illinois winter to me. So I think I just like went there in my head, like, oh, he's wearing like his, 3 layers of everything that you wear in the winter. Yeah.
No, I latched onto the Methodist thing because I'm a Methodist kid, so I'm like, oh, Methodist, cool.
One thing that stood out to me was the reference of wearing his brother's hat, and I looked into that, and online mentioned that this is a very like boyhood song. Obviously, it's about like boyhood love and camp and stuff.
Yeah,
and in The Catcher in the Rye, the main character, Holden Caulfield's younger sister, who he's trying to protect from the woes of the world, is wearing his red hat, and they think that that's the reference. And this whole song too is like, it feels like he's trying to protect himself or the boy that he's in love with from something they're not really ready for, potentially.
Yeah, I think I really get that feeling with this song, like that he's like, it's like he had an experience with another boy at camp, and he didn't want to out that boy without, he didn't want to, I guess, speak for him, so he kept it a secret,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of secrets in this album too.
Yeah, yeah. And this one you can really hear the emotion in his vocals, I feel like this is like the what was it? Someone Saved My Life Tonight of this album. That's the really intimate Elton John song where he's talking about committing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, and I don't, who knows if this is completely, biographical, or if he's doing, some, what's the word, metaphors, or whatever. But it is pretty clear though, like what he's like talking about if you're looking at the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and especially like we were saying earlier, back in mid 2000s, we weren't quite where we are now with that stuff. So, yeah, he didn't want everything to be about his sexuality, which is understandable.
Yeah, he writes so many songs that I feel are explicit about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that he wanted the music to speak for itself, and he didn't want to talk about it in interviews because that kills it. Every song or every artist that's asked about their music, it kills it if they have to like walk it out for you.
Yeah. You don't want to do that really with your own music. Maybe with other music, but not your own. It's a little different, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We interviewed Grant Summerland, who did this concept album about like basically like Halloween type creatures, and he was very cryptic when we asked him questions about it. And I was like, all right, I get it. You got to have a little mystery to it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very intimate track.
Yeah.
Whether like regardless of like your sexuality, you can probably think of like a time in your life when you were young and you were starting to have these kinds of feelings and experiences.
Especially at camp.
Especially at camp. That's what camp's for, right? Yeah, it's for smoking weed and having some interesting times, right? I don't know.
Also for giving your heart to Jesus Christ.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's
the
definitely
main reason.
That's definitely part of it. Yeah. But yeah. Any other thoughts on this track before we move on? I know it's a really
next track.
Big track. But this next track is They Are Night Zombies. They are neighbors. They have come back from the dead. Ah! Here we go. I love these titles. I know I said it before, but I really think this could be a like rap tune if someone like just dropped some bars on top of that.
Spelling the word Illinois.
Yeah,
just
dude.
Keep that beat in the back.
Yeah. It could be for the Bulls or for like a sports team or something. You just take this section of the song and
drop the beat.
Yeah, drop the bass. Make the bass drop.
Yeah, this song is like much more ominous than the other songs, and it's still fun, but you feel like something's about to go down.
Yeah, it's got a good vibe to it, but it is very like almost like that other song you were saying, like it's like just listing a few things. It's like, this is Illinois, dog.
Yeah, most of the song is just spelling the name.
Yeah,
which is fine.
But it is so like, yeah, you're right. It is almost like sinister in a way. Yeah. And it's another, and I love what it's another example of like it does it a few times in the album, but there's like a few times where the vocals, there's like three different like streams of thought being sung at the same time, which I always think is like, what like pretty hard to do effectively, And if you focus on a specific like, vocal, you can hear what they're saying or, but yeah, there's a lot going on in this song for that.
Yeah, it's like it's a song that you revisit. Just like most of the songs on this album, like there's every time you go back, you get something else out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this one could almost be like not from this album too. You know what I mean? I feel like this could be just a non-Sufjan Stevens song. Because there's like one thing I've noticed when we were doing these is like there's certain songs inside a concept album that like could really stand on their own. There's always like one or two.
Yeah.
And apparently, as I'm talking about this, I'm looking that someone did do a remix of this track. It is Zombies by Mick DJ. So I'm going to definitely be listening to... Wow, it's a whole... Hold up, Kristin. Did you know that there is an Illinois remix album?
No.
There is an Illinois remix album by Mick DJ. So let's definitely revisit that and come back to it. But I was just saying it should be remixed, and apparently it has.
Yeah.
Weird. The whole album. Wow. But yeah, I don't have too much more to say about this track. It's just a nice, like it makes me feel like what was it, prideful about having family from Illinois. That's the one thing I can say about it is like it's just like it makes you want to be like, yes, Illinois is great, isn't it? Anyway, this next track is another instrumental. It's called Let's Hear That String Part Again, because I don't think they heard it all the way out in Bushnell. Oh, wait. Hold up. I actually did the end of one track into another track. So this one is what I just said leading into in this temple as in the hearts of man for whom he saved. Talking about some of that biblical stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a lot of really good transitions in this album, and I didn't pick a whole lot of them just because, like, they're what's the word? They're slower, so like it's hard to get like a nice little chunk. But the album, the transitions between songs in this album are really seamless. Like most of the tracks, like very, they flow into each other, which I love on a concept album.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you pick just one song out of random, like you hear the beginning and then, of the surrounding songs. Yeah.
That's the best part about concept albums, honestly. Is like that's where that like really happens a lot. Bringing up the same musical motif a few times. Which really shows like that they love what they're doing and they care about the art aspect of it.
I'm sure there's no break. Oh, what was that?
What's up, Dave?
I was going to say, have you ever listened to any Appleseed Cast Bread?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, back in the day I did a little bit.
It reminds me of Low Level Owl 1 and 2, just how the two albums pretty much like the first one, how the first album ends, it's literally like the second album begins right there. So
you could like literally like play it into the next and you wouldn't like maybe notice.
Yeah, album 1 and album 2 goes right seamlessly into each other. It's like the same track, but kind of split up. So it's a really
Yeah, yeah.
It's a cool concept. And it's just a great 2-album set.
Yeah. Sometimes artists can do that where they take they take separate albums and then tie them together like that. It's pretty rare, but
I mean, I think they're meant to be together, but they came out as 2 on
well, yeah, like System of a Down's like Hypnotize and Mesmerize, like they release as separate things, but they're like the same, musically. Yeah. But so this one, I was surprised this wasn't a double album. This one,
yeah,
because it's so many tracks. But I mean, a lot of them are instrumentals, so there's like shorter things here and there. Oh, I did just want to make a mention of Bushnell though. If you were a Christian in the 2000s, you may have heard of Cornerstone Music Festival in Bushnell, Illinois. It was the most badass Christian music festival you could go to. Very non-judgmental, very very open, and a lot of fucking metal. A lot of metal all day, all night.
But then also Sixpence None the Richer too.
Like right. Light. Yeah, there was Sixpence None the Richer that one year. Yeah. It was my favorite place to go in the summertime. Camp out for a week and just talk to like hippie Christians essentially.
You're just constantly sweaty.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
It.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Everyone's breaking up. Everyone's starting to date someone.
Yep. There's all that summer drama. Camp. Summer camp. Exactly. It's like that other track. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not a thing. It doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, it used to happen in Bushnell, Illinois. So which is
the literal middle of nowhere.
Yes, it's fucking like there's nothing there. But I definitely want to go camping there sometime now that it's not a thing. We'll have our own little festival in the main stage area or some shit.
After you score your EGOT.
Yeah. After I get my EGOT, of course, we'll go back to Bushnell and put together a EGOT festival. Mm-hmm. Only EGOTs are allowed to get into this festival. It'll be a really small group. The next track, the track after that is referencing the Lincoln Memorial, actually. On the Lincoln Memorial, it says, "In this temple, as in the hearts of people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever." So, yeah, this one's kind of about Abe. Yeah. I mean, he is the quintessential Illinois figure, It's honest Abe. Don't know much to say about, much more to say about Abe.
And Land of Lincoln.
Land of Lincoln. It's the Land of Lincoln, exactly. Before I forget, the track we listened to earlier with his friend dying. The cardinal thing. We didn't mention what the cardinal means. So what was the meaning of the cardinal you were saying?
Well, you mentioned that it's the state bird, and I guess I didn't remember that.
Yeah, but your thing is interesting too. I'm sure you had both in mind.
Certain birds, when they fall dead at your doorstep or they run into your window, the line is the cardinal fell into the window or crashed into the window.
Yeah.
When you see a cardinal, that's a loved one checking up on you.
Oh shit.
And I know a lot of people who have mentioned that cardinals, once someone that they love died, just appear in their backyard and never leave.
Oh wow.
So it's I think it's pretty ubiquitously known as that symbol.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
For bird watchers, at least.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that not everyone knows that, but it's that's it probably has a double meaning. He did his research, so but yeah, it's also what's nice is also the Illinois state bird, so it really fits for so many different reasons for that song. So yeah, I just wanted to double back and mention that before we missed it. But this next tune is track 19, and it's called "The Sears Tower."
We built it for Emmanuel. Oh, my mother, she betrayed us.
yeah. So another real spiritual
the family drama song.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was a song about the stepmother earlier, but
like the sorrow of a broken family.
Yeah, yeah. But there's another very spiritual tune, very biblical mentions. It's got Emmanuel, which is, not much outside the Bible. With his sword, with his robe, he comes dividing man from brothers. So there's a lot of biblical stuff in this one.
Emmanuel, who's that in the Bible?
I believe that's Jesus, right?
What is the meaning?
Wait. Hold on.
It.
Oh man,
it means God is with us.
That's a big note. Yes, it means God is with us. So we built it for God is with us. Okay, I see. It's one of those things that probably means more if you're Hebrew speaking or whatever.
Yeah. One line that stood out to me the most is, "Still I go to the deepest grave where I go to sleep alone."
Yeah.
Which to me just was him saying that he feels alone in his life, even though he has family members around him. He's still going to die alone.
Yeah.
Not only that, he chooses the deepest grave.
It's almost that existential crisis rearing up again.
Yeah.
From that instrumental track.
But it's a really great song to listen to if you really need to get the feelings out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it has that divine feeling.
Yeah.
And, seeped in sadness and it's a good song for that.
Kind of just existential loneliness that comes with being a sentient individual.
Yeah.
We're all it's that whole problem where we're all social creatures, but at the same time, sometimes we value our independence and our loneliness, and trying to figure out those things. But yeah, what do you think of that line though? My mother, she betrayed us, but my father loved and bathed us. That's one of the lines that really stuck out to me.
I feel like he's not confessing, but he's letting us in a little bit by saying that he knows his mom didn't take care of him or didn't want to be around as much as his future stepmom would. And it's also like a role reversal. Usually when parents break up, it's the father that's distant and the mother taking care of the children.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not to get too much back into the John Wayne Gacy stuff, but that's another thing about serial killers is it is usually it's usually the lack of love from the mother that is the significant common factor between serial killers,
Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't want to make it like a gender thing, but I mean, it's just like in a lot of like the book that I read, which was about criminal profiling, that was one of the things that was common between most of them, is that specifically because I mean, your mother, she's the one that nurses you, she's the one that literally carries you in them for 9 months, so I mean, there could be just a real natural reason for that they need to have that love from the person that birthed them.
It could be social too, because in American culture, women have an easier time showing affection. I shouldn't say easier time, but
it's more
women
accepted.
are socialized to share our feelings and reciprocate. Where men, especially 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, if they said something like "I love you" to their son, they'd be called gay.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can be called.
Yeah. I mean, even like I mean, I don't mean to call it my dad, but like even my dad, like it's he's not like a very masculine man, but even with him, I think it's something that's like not something that he's comfortable saying all the time. It's something even
emotion in general.
Yeah. It's definitely still an issue with men, especially as they grow older and maybe isolate themselves from their friends or something. Yeah. I definitely hear it more and more as I get older as a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to avoid conflict, and as opposed to women, like usually fight it head on. Where that's the word bitch comes from. It's like, well, no, we see a problem, we want to fix it, and usually that takes conflict first.
Yeah, why you got to bring up this problem?
I think also like, yeah, I think that's another reason why I wanted to talk about this album, is that like, here's this young man at the time. He's pretty young now still, but like, he's being so vulnerable and so open with his deepest feelings and shame and intimacies. Like, that's why I love this album so much, is that he's listing the Wikipedia article for Illinois, but in and amongst it, he's telling us his insides, and that is not common for men to do.
I think that's why I was drawn to this type of music when I was in that time. Like I'm not like I've heard most of this like because of my association with you, because you're a big Sufjan Stevens fan. I was fortunate enough to hear it, but like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff though I was drawn to because of that fact, because it like I couldn't find a lot of musicians or artists that were men that were being vulnerable, because it's
and that is a really important part of being a human.
Yes, definitely.
Is like feeling your emotions, being able to label them, and then sharing them. Yeah.
Oh, weird question. I got to ask, like, is that something that you cover in your movie a little bit? Because I know there's the subplot about the meeting the brothers of her girlfriend, the main character's girlfriend. Is that something that you touch on at all in the movie, like masculinity type shit?
I would only say, like, underlying themes.
Yeah.
A lot of the movie, while I was writing it, I wanted to write so much about Brad and I know this family from Jason,
yeah, I got a few hints at that.
Yeah, and it's based off of those guys. But like, I think I needed to like write a novel instead of a movie, because in a movie
there's a
you
lot
really
to be said.
only get to know one character and their journey.
It's a big family.
Yeah. So the intention is there, but I had to focus on other things.
Yeah. But I like that was represented. I didn't want to get like too specific about it if you didn't want to, but like I like that. I saw it immediately, knowing you. Like, okay, I kind of maybe see where this is being drawn from.
Yeah, but also like not putting judgment on it, because
men
of my generation, like I said, have a hard time feeling, labeling, and expressing. So it usually comes out in more like fart jokes, or like talking about penis size, like things that like are symbolic of what they want to express, but are still crude or not as developed.
Well, and still like ultimately patriarchal in a way.
Yes.
Like they're definitely expressing, but it's I understand what you mean. It's that kind of like masculine version of progressivism,
Yeah, and I wanted to show too, we haven't talked about the movie very much, but it's a woman goes up north to meet her girlfriend's brothers, and I wanted to show this family. So you would assume that a family like this, a family of boys, like rugged boys who show their butts, like would be homophobic.
Yeah.
But in this world, they aren't. Like they got past the homophobia, or maybe it was never there.
Yeah.
But they still have these like patriarchal signals of like, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
I'm better than you, like those kind of ideas.
Yeah, that kind of competition that goes with it, like,
and also like calling out the women in their life as being weak, or they not as important as them, or not as fun as them, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see the whole thing, by the way. Like I saw the trailer, and I dropped by at the set that one time, but like I'm really excited to see it fully, finally.
It's nice to hear. I think you'll like it.
Yeah. No, it looks really good. It does. It looks very, very good. I think that it will do well.
One of the better compliments I've gotten from like the 5 people who've seen it is that it. I think that maybe I'm not connected. Maybe I am.
I can hear you. I can hear you right now.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the better compliments was that the movie feels like me.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing to say, where it's like observational, maybe, but still like funny and light while being awkward. So that's nice. So if you like me a little bit, I think you'll like the movie a little bit.
Yeah. Everyone go watch this thing. Everyone watch just support like the little media that we have left, people. All right? That's all I'm asking. But
and if you do watch the movie, you buy tickets into a ballot, and I'm just gonna plug this because
yes, you can buy tickets for a ballot,
if we win the
right?
Audience Choice Award with all of these ballots, yeah.
You can you can like get what is it? One of those things
laurels.
on your the laurels that you can put on your film poster, right?
Like the old Olympians.
Yes. Oh man. I really, really hope you get those laurels. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So everyone check this out, all right, people. We're gonna get back into the album just because of time. But this next track is track 20, and it is let me get the full title here. I think it's another one of those really long titled songs. So I want to make sure I get exactly what Sufjan Stevens wants to get across. This is called The Tallest Man, The Broadest Shoulders. Part 1, The Great Frontier. Part 2, Come to Me Only with Playthings Now.
I count the days, the great frontier, forgiving face the 7th year. I stand in awe of gratefulness. I can and call forgetfulness.
Oh man, that one was hard to choose for. There's a lot of fun parts in that song.
Yeah, the whole song is a meal.
It is. It's a full meal. Yeah. And it's got the Illinois Maker Choir, by the way. Yeah. And I think in another track there was a different choir, right? There was just the Illinois choir. But yeah, that's the cool thing. They use choirs from Illinois, which is, on top of all the other Illinois stuff, it's like, I guess why not, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like so much to say about the song as well as very little, I think, because like you get through this whole album, like almost all parts of humanity are represented, and then here's the culmination point, putting in all of the elements, the choirs, the clapping, every instrument.
Yeah.
And it has like 4 or 5 movements inside the song.
Yeah. It's a big song. There is a lot.
Also, like the lyrical themes, I feel like are a little bit of a departure from everything else, which is like the working man deserves love because he works hard and he's generous. Like all of the historical facts, like Illinois, it's a bunch of corn, and then every once in a while it's a bunch of energy, like Chicago or Peoria or whatever.
Yeah.
But then like there's a line in this last song which is run from yourself, from your friends. And then it says run for yourself and then for your friends. So it's like the themes of him needing to go somewhere for like to feel like himself and freedom, but also like his shame from himself and making many mistakes in his head. It's like run from yourself, from your friends. Like I thought it was just like a great last lyrical point. It's like everyone's alone.
Yeah.
In the corn maze.
Right. Yeah.
The Godfrey corn maze.
Yeah. The Godfrey corn maze, of course. Yeah. The Gilbert Godfrey corn maze. Of course.
And also in like the third song, I think Chicago, he mentions all these glorious things, and then near the end of the song, he's like, "Are you actually enjoying this triumph, or are you or are you living a lifeless life? Like Picasso called Chicago, I'm not going to get the quote right, but like basically a cold, lifeless place. And that's kind of what he's saying is like, yeah, you can have all these accomplishments in architecture and soft drinks, but are you being true to yourself? Are you writing from the heart?
You know, that's like literally how I feel about Illinois usually.
I know that's kind of how I feel about Chicago specifically.
Like, well, there's something I've always said to people. It's like you can feel the difference when you walk over the border.
Mm-hmm.
Like
we should also say we're
feels,
from Wisconsin.
We're from Wisconsin, so I mean we're like, you know, biased. But like it feels cold and desolate when you walk over the border to Illinois. So yeah, I definitely get that.
And it's flat.
Yeah.
Like you
mostly
just
flat.
over the border into Wisconsin.
It's not as flat as Kansas.
Yeah, there's at least hills. And the cornfields are winding a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very just even keel, middle of the road, just you know, real typical
Looks
middle
like
America.
Anywhere.
Yeah. It's and this one kind of connects to the first track or the third track, I think. And what's interesting is it's like this is the third track from the end, and the second and the other one, you know, third track from the beginning. So it's cool that there's like some symmetry in this this album with that.
Yeah, and every part of the song sounds completely different.
Yeah.
And like the third song too, like the last part, the Carl Sandburg part is much more subdued. It's more personal, where the first part was very like in a lot of these songs listing the Wikipedia article about what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the Columbian Expo, the White City
Expo. Yeah. Are you familiar with Carl Sandburg's stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know much about Carl Sandburg personally. I just know the name.
Yeah, he's like the Emerson of Chicagoland.
Oh, okay. He's
so
like the Emerson of the Midwest, dude.
What was that?
Emerson of the Midwest.
Yeah. He talks a lot about nature, but then also like the spirit of industry at the same time. Yeah.
Weird.
I love his work.
Interesting. I almost said industry. Like interesting. Interesting. Because those are like almost opposing forces. So yeah, it'd be.
But that's Illinois.
That is Illinois.
It's so much of the natural world, and then the confluence of Chicago and Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, cool. Because it's like it's industry, but like slightly further along than on like the East Coast. You know, because there's a lot of industry in the East Coast, but this is like the frontier before the Western frontier. You know, the Middle Coast is what I like to call it. But I don't like how we got here. But this is one of the last tracks though that has a lot of lyrical content here. And
the last two tracks don't have any, right?
I don't think. Yeah, the next one doesn't.
It's both instrumental.
Both instrumental. Yeah. But they do mention the Bears and the Bulls. Like I was gonna say I knew that they mentioned them at some point. Oh, and I gotta mention Jane Addams, because Jane Addams, my dad used to work at a place called Jane Addams, and Jane Addams is a social activist and reformer. So she was like one of the first social workers, kind of. So, yeah. Jane Addams, people, look it up. But yeah, and then Oh Great Illinois. It can only start with you. It's such a great. If you're from Illinois, like you got to be loving this album. Like you got to hear it at some point. You know. This next track, though, I really really enjoy this because one thing we haven't mentioned too much here is that Chicago is also one of the big homes for jazz. Like there was a lot of really, really great jazz that came out of Chicago.
Clubs.
And because big city, urban center, and it was just sometimes it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves for its influence on jazz. So I like that there is some reference to that in the album. So this is track 21, Riffs and Variations on a Single Note for Jelly Roll, Earl Hines, Louis Armstrong, Baby Dodds, and The King of Swing, to name a few. Nope. Nope. I really wish Kevin was here for this track. Kevin would be able to tell us all about every part of what's going on here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's you know it's pretty simple. It's just like a bunch of different instruments, I think, playing the same track or the same note, and kind of some of the stuff that happens with that, which is like very, very jazz. You know, it's just like, I don't know. It's something that like people outside of like improv type situations like might not appreciate, but like, you know, this is the kind of thing that like jazz people probably really dig. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to pair what you said before you played the clip. Like,
what?
If you don't mention jazz when you're talking about specifically Chicago, you're not making an album about Illinois. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that this was, you know, specifically for jazz, even though there were horns throughout the whole piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that there was like in the song Chicago, it is kind of emblematic of that at times too.
Yeah, but yeah. I'm glad there was a moment.
Yeah, and it's its own track, you know, like this could have just been the end of the last track, but they chose to make this a specific track so that they could make a, you know, a note and a call out to these specific jazz guys, you know? So, yeah. It would be a shame to do an Illinois album with no jazz. That'd be no good. But, and you know what? I want to just mention. I don't think we mentioned the album cover at all yet. But it's got a picture of Chicago. I think that's the Sears Tower, right? Like the one on the far left. Yeah, there's a Sears Tower. We got Superman in the sky, which apparently had to be covered when it first came out. They have to cover the S on the Superman because they didn't have the copyright covered yet. And then there's this guy on the far right that this is just like kind of almost stereotypical like Chicago gangster looking dude on the far right of the album. He's got like a little cigar in his mouth, and yeah, I like the album. I like the album cover because it is very Illinois of a picture, you know. But yeah,
probably Capone, I'm guessing.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's
the staple.
Yeah. He's got kind of Capone look to him. Yeah. I don't know too much about Capone. I don't know what I'm saying like Capone. But yeah, you know, there was all that too. You know, there was the jazz, and there was also some old school gangsters. Yeah. But this next track is called Out of Egypt, Into the Great Laugh of Mankind, and I shake the dirt from my sandals as I run. Yeah, you know, his track titles are almost like Bible verses in themselves. Yeah. You know? In fact, I think this one is probably... Matthew 10:14, apparently. Whoever does not receive you nor heed your words as you go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet. So, yeah.
Was that the last track?
That's the last track.
Yeah, we were saying it feels like It's kind of a little longer and instrumental. It feels like the credits are rolling.
Yeah.
It's simple, but not boring. There's a lot going on with the instrument.
Yeah.
But it's definitely
it grows like really slowly and fades really slowly too. It was hard
catharsis.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice time to just like think about all the things that he's been talking about throughout the album.
Yeah.
Release. And in the bottom, so the southern part of Illinois, if we're talking about the geography of it, there's like the Mississippi River, and then at the bottom it is kind of it was called like Little Egypt to some people because it kind of has that similar thing to the Nile where like there's a lot of water, there's a lot of fertile land, and so it's cool that he makes that connection between the biblical Egypt and Illinois with that. But yeah. There's a lot of nice spiritual stuff here. I don't know too much about Little Egypt though, so I can't really say too much about the Illinois version of what he's talking about. But it seems like there must be a story there. But that's for another time, I guess. I was gonna say this reminds me of kind of like a Flaming Lips kind of outro. The way that this album ends. Like I remember when we listened to
Yoshimi.
Yeah, Yoshimi ends with an instrumental, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Which is like kind of like I guess not very typical, honestly, of concept albums. Like we haven't done too many where like the last track is a straight up instrumental, or the last two tracks even. So it's like kind of a bold move, I think, to make the last two tracks instrumental. But it's really cool. And it fits, and there's a lot of it's kind of hypnotizing at the end. You're just kind of like, But any other thoughts on this album, guys, before we close the book on Sufjan Stevens, Illinois?
I'm out.
You're out. I'm out.
I definitely said what I wanted
everything.
to say.
Yeah, I was about to say this was a big one. I think it was a lot of stuff to get through. So I'm glad we did it. Thanks for choosing it. I haven't heard this
Michigan
one in a while.
Is also really excellent. It was hard to choose between them, but because I have more experience with the state, I chose this one.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. I don't know nearly as much about Michigan either, so I'm sure these would fall a little more deaf on me. But Illinois, it's just like, I wonder how long Michigan is, though. Is that a long one? Is that as long as this one?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll do. Well, I mean, it is a concept album, though. I mean, technically. Mm-hmm. And did he do another one? I forget. He did Michigan.
No, it's just two.
Just Michigan and Illinois.
There were some songs about different states and cities on his other albums, but he didn't do a whole album. Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what he should have done. Just done like one track from each state.
I think that this album is perfection, so I'm glad.
Yeah. I'm glad that he did that. Yeah. I mean, like, some people had to know that he was joking, right? Like, sounds like something he would just say, like, yeah, I'll do all 50 of them, whatever.
You can lie to the press as much as you want. They'll print it.
That's true. Yeah. And is he still making stuff? Sufjan Stevens? Yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well, before we get out of here, though, we like to do one last segment where we go around the horn and ask what everyone has been listening to lately, or like watching podcasts, or what do you have to plug? Yes, plugs. This is also the plug section. We don't have a plugs theme though.
I'll go first.
Okay, yeah, Kristin, tell us.
Fiona Apple's newest album is so good.
Yeah? Okay.
Every song makes me want to like scream for how good it is. Just like Into the Void, because every song has so much to it lyrically specifically, but also like every song is so different. She utilizes like really strange and new ways to like with the choir and the instrument. It's just so good. So I'm listening to her new album.
Oh, I didn't know she had a new album. Is that 2020?
It came out like a month into quarantine, I think, and that was a really good time for it to come out because I was ready to just listen to that on loop.
Yes. Oh my God. Fucking quarantine albums, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about them. And anything else you've been jamming on? Oh, and plugs too. You have a movie coming out, I think.
www.ringoleviofilm.com.
Yes. That's Ringo,
That's
like the member of the Beatles, yep. And Levio, Levio.com.
Like the first part of Leviosa.
Yes. Ringo, and then Wingardium Leviosa, but minus the Wingardium, and then Sa. Yeah, we got it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, check out and support local stuff, people. Like support stuff coming out of the Midwest. There's a lot of talent in here. What about you, Dave? What have you been jamming on recently?
Well, today I had some extra time, so I've actually picked up some random records throughout the day and just was spinning.
Oh yeah, I saw a Facebook post about that. You had like a bunch of records that you set out.
So did Iron Maiden, Fear the Dark, Dinosaur Jr. Bug, American Steel. I can't remember the name. I think it's Destroy Their Future, and then Rolling Stones' Emotional Rescue.
Emotional Rescue. Okay.
4 albums I just kind of randomly picked and threw on.
Yeah. Which Iron Maiden is that in the order of things?
I think it's right before, or no, I think it's right after Seventh Son.
Okay. Yeah, that one was fun.
I like really close to that one.
Yeah. I'm still on like I haven't gone on to Brave New World yet. I'm almost to Brave New World for Iron Maiden, but I'll get there.
That's where it turns and it gets better again.
Yeah. I need to. That's the next thing I need to jump on. I'm on an Iron Maiden journey since we did one of the albums, so I'm like 12 albums in now. So I'm trying to complete out the discography. But yeah, anything else you've been jamming on?
Well, in that one of the music groups where we make playlists and stuff, I had a friend that posted this gigantic playlist. So it's I can't remember what he called it, but it's basically just everything from his past. And again, it was a lot of this old punk, and it's been a while since I revisited some of these bands, and like Casket Lottery, Raina Maria, of course, Suicide Machines, but just everything from like early to mid 90s, like 2000. It was just like a nice solid chunk.
Nice. Well, as far as me, I've been actually. I think the quarantine must be having artists just pumping out shit, because like Bright Eyes came out with an album, and so did the Killers. They came out with a new album, and both of them are very good. I don't remember the names of them offhand, but just look at their newest album. I really, really enjoy it. The Killers, it's like it should have come out after Sam's Town. Like that's basically how I feel. It's like a really, really good return to form. The Bright Eyes one has a few heartbreak songs, which is, bittersweet, because I'm sure it sucks for him, but sometimes that's when he's best. But yeah, it's there's some great millennials that are dropping some nice tunes right now. Also, Nas came out with a new album. I haven't heard that one yet, but Nas has a new album out as well. So I'm thinking there's a lot of whoever has a home studio must be just spending all their time working on music at this point, because there's no tours. So yeah. But other than that, I'll be hopefully by the time you hear this, we will have the first episode out of our Travelers, a Dark podcast with my sister Mel, and we will have the next episode of Pick Apart the Passion, which will have Martel Chapman, who is a jazz painter. So if you want to learn about some jazz painting, some Wynton Marsalis shit, check out the 3rd episode of Pick Apart the Passion. Other than that, that's all I got. Thanks, Kristin, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to seeing your movie come out, and everyone, go check out the what was that, San Francisco, what's it called again?
It's Dances with Films in LA.
It's Dances with Films. Like Dances. Yeah, Dances. Okay. Yeah. I get it. Dances with Films in LA. Look it up. We'll have a link in the description. And support Midwest indie films, guys. It'll be out maybe by the time you're hearing this. Who knows? We're in a weird time loop when we're recording stuff. But thanks everyone for joining us for the album concept hour. Next week we will have a different concept album for you guys. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening. The Album Concept Hour is Brad LeBaron, Dave Gallagher, John Aker, and Scott Wesley. Special thanks to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the theme music. Please like us on Facebook or friend us on Twitter or MySpace and let us know what concept album you would like to hear on the podcast. See you on Side B. This has been a Revolver Audio production. Executive producer Brad LeBaron. For more podcasts, visit soundcloud.com/revolveraudio, or to support new content, visit ko-fi.com/revolveraudio. Revolver.